Calgary's entire transit system has devolved into a drug and violence-laden dystopian nightmare. And something has to be done about it. As the addiction epidemic continues to grow across North America, every city's grappling with these issues. I can't find one, though, with the dubious honor of actually having closed down their train stations to the public rather than deal with the issue as Calgary did. They've been closed for months. A picture was shared with me yesterday by a commuter as he passed by the Chinook LRT station in Calgary. The shelter was full of addicts in all states. One was in the midst of counting money from a drug exchange. Another was preparing to consume his newly purchased drugs. And another was, well, I would say hopefully simply unconscious. Overdoses have become a daily occurrence at those stations. I was assured by the commuter that this scene was common, and it's often actually worse there. I can believe it. I drive by LRT stations regularly and see the people laid out, along with the ambulances and fire trucks constantly there and parked as the overdoses happen and they're called in. It's a typical scene. I used to take the train to our downtown office from the Westbrook station in Calgary, and syringes and aggressive addicts just became too much for me. I didn't want to deal with it, and I accepted paying to park downtown rather than immerse myself daily in a rolling drug consumption center that reeked of piss and felt unsafe. Ridership on Calgary transits at 64% of what it was a couple of years ago. Anybody who can avoid riding those trains right now does. Not everybody has a choice to simply jump in a car like I did, however. Many commuters have no other way to get around rather than use city transit, and they have to endure fearful rides every day just to get to work and back. Multiple random assaults have been happening on train platforms and in transit facilities. The fear of the addicts is not misplaced. They can often be aggressive and dangerous. And, to one legacy media outlet, to their credit, a CBC reporter went out and took a ride on Calgary's LRT just a couple weeks ago. She reported what she saw. She witnessed 3 overdoses and numerous aggressive actions. For reporting on that, by the way, and that was just on one trip. For reporting on it, many on social media, of course, got on her case and accused her of shaming addicts. Look, we can't let addicts continue to take over the transit system for a city of over 1 million people for fear of shaming them. We can be compassionate while putting our foot down. It doesn't mean we don't care if we take an initiative to remove addicts from city transit facilities and vehicles. It just means that we're accepting that that's not where they belong. The bigger issue of how to deal with addicts once they're removed from transit will remain. We can't refuse, though, to take action on one issue in hopes of avoiding to have to deal with the other issue. Calgary's downtown has nearly 1/3 of its office buildings remaining vacant. Bike lanes have taken out almost all the street parking, while other parking lots charge a fortune. If the city really wants people to come downtown, they need to take transit. And it has to be safe, and it's nowhere close to that right now. The downtown itself actually is loaded with addicts, feces, and discarded syringes as well. But I just want to mostly stick to the transit issue for today. The first full Calgary stampede in years is approaching, and Calgary's hospitality sector is desperate to see an influx of tourists. How many people, though, are going to make it their last visit to Calgary after riding on the city's horrific transit system and seeing the urban decay around them? Would you really want to take your kids out into that? Mayor Gondek and many of her city council counterparts are trying to bring in an insane $87 billion climate change plan. One aspect of their nutty plan, though, is to have over 60% of Calgarians using transit to get around. Well, I can tell you right now that sure as hell isn't going to happen as long as transit's unsafe, no matter how much they try to punish automobile owners. They're just going to continue to drive more people out of the city altogether. The mayor and the council want to pretend that transit is fine. Maybe if they could be convinced that dealing with the problem will help with their fictional climate emergency, we could see some action. I mean, Calgary is in a state of emergency right now. It just isn't climate related. I bet if they took their elitist asses out for a day and rode city transit as the commoners have to, we would finally see some action as well. But I won't hold my breath on that.